Shalom. Want to start off souls by giving all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, El Shah, B'Shem, God, Kodash. Double honors to Apostle Great Most and honors to brothers doing the work of the Most High in truth and in sincerity. Yahweh's real name, of whom the world ignorantly calls God, Jehovah. Yahweh's real name is Yahweh, and his son's true name is Yahweh Shai. And when we pray Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'amin in, Hamim that and Sham, meaning names Yahweh and the name of Yahweh Shai. Not really got too much of a topic. Just kind of see where the spirit leads. But just watching a couple of vids. Just trying to get some inspiration. And one of the things I did, kind of want to lean into was just this idea of truth being basically pushed in the world, because right now, right, this world is in darkness, as Isaiah 60:2. So for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, right, and gross darkness the people, but Yahweh shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Right, and all manner of truth is being brought out, right? Who the Israelites are. Can grab that, and we'll get the one in Hosea. It's one that's coming to mind right now, right? It says, Hosea 1:10 says, "Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered, and it shall come to pass." And so basically meaning that there's going to be a lot of Israelites. It says, "And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living power." Right. So in this land, right, we would basically start being called Israelites again, right? Starting off with the land of America. See, if there's a, what do you call it? See, there's another preset there. But yeah, so that's one of the things, right? So the idea that we're the children of Israel, right? It is basically something that's being pushed throughout the world, right? Let's see if I can see the preset. It's on the tip of my tongue. That's the one. Right, it says Baruch 2:30. Right, it says, "For I knew." Let me see if there's any more in there. Right, it says Baruch 2. I'll read from 28. It says, "As thou spakest by thy servant Moses in the day when thou didst command him to write the law before the children of Israel, saying, If you will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations, where I will scatter them." Right, so the fact that we're scattered amongst these heathen nations, that is a curse unto us, right? Verse 30 says, "For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves," right? And in the same breath, right, as we're remembering them ourselves, right, through the Spirit of the Lord, right, we're also professing that throughout the world, right? And not only that, right, because we're not just prophets to ourselves, but we're prophets to the nations, right? To say, hey, we're the Israelites, and you are, Edom, you are, you are Moab, you are, Japhites, whatever it is. Okay, so that's one of the things that is certainly, happening. Okay, and once again, yeah, because I was wondering why it's referred to as the name, right? So let's read this. This is Baruch 2:30. That's, "For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves, and shall know that I am Yahweh their power. For I'll give them an heart, right, and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity, and think upon my name." Right, because that was one thing that we didn't have, but the Lord has given us back His name, right? The Lord has given us back His name, and what we're doing, we're professing that in the world, right? Because at the end of the day, this whole story is all for the magnification of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Let's actually start off with the one in Jeremiah. Right, Jeremiah 16:14, right? So it says, "Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that shall no more be said, Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I'll bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. So when you look at the salvation from Egypt, it was a great salvation. And you read about Rahab the harlot, she was like, hey, we heard. So why Rahab, she didn't want the smoke, right? Because she knew that basically, what did she say? It says, surely basically the Lord has given you this land. So that was great salvation, but this salvation is going to be even greater. All right, but the people need someone to attribute it to, right? So one of the things that the Lord has through His prophets, right, have been doing is making sure that that name is being pushed throughout the world, that that name becomes a remembrance once more in the world. Okay. This is Ezekiel 36 and 32. No, not 32. Oh, yes, the one. Damn, made a mistake there. Right, so Ezekiel 36 from 20, right? It says, and when they entered unto the heathen whither they went, right, they profaned my holy name when they said unto them, these are the people of Yahweh, and are gone forth out of his land. But I had pity for my holy name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the heathen whither they went, right? And the pericope is Israel to be renewed for his name's sake. So it says, therefore say unto the house of Israel, thus saith the Lord power, I do not this for your sakes, O house of Israel, but for my holy name's sake, which ye have profaned among the heathen whither ye went. And I will sanctify my great name, which was profaned among the heathen, which ye have profaned in the midst of them. Right? And the heathen shall know that I am Yahweh, saith the Lord power, when I shall be sanctified in you before their eyes. Right? So that's one of the reasons, right, the Most High is keen for his name to be, brought back into the world, right? So that's a key thing that's being revealed, right, in these last times, right? But even the what inspired this kind of idea was also like Esau's being revealed, right? His nature, right? Who he is. Right, folks, let's we can, because we can look at it from different angles. Habakkuk 2 and not 15. Where is that? 16, Salakia, right? It says, thou art filled with shameful glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be upon thy glory. Right? This is going into the fact that these Edomites, right? Everything that they have done is being revealed, right? The Lord, through actually different means. The Lord even uses these other Edomites, right? My memory's failing me right now, right? But the Lord actually even uses these other Edomites to basically speak against them, right? It says Psalm 64 and 8 says, so shall they make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So the Lord once again uses these different Edomites to speak, against them, to spill the beans, if you will. Okay, right? But the Lord also uses, right, his prophets, right, to reveal this man, right? This is 2 Thessalonians 2 from 3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, right? For that day shall not come except they shall except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, right? And when you look at this devil, once again, he's being revealed, right? Some people ain't gonna get it until it's too late, and more fool them, right? That's they just one of the elect. Okay. However, when you look at the just the general thing of it, Esau's being revealed, right? Who the Edomites are, as the apostles say, before this truth became mainstream, right? People weren't talking about Edomites, right? People will hear about the nation of Israel, and then that'll be the end of the conversation, right? But through through the Spirit of the Lord, right now these, these anti-Christians are being forced to look into these things. They're being forced to, go into the Hebrew, to go into the Greek, right? Because that's part of, you know, part of this, of the Spirit of the Lord, right? And what else was just in my mind? Was just in my mind, right? Because another thing as well that we're witnessing, right, is the Lord is, shining a light, right, on things that, people think are hidden, right? But the Lord is, making, making these things known, right? Uh, so like the Lord is making these things known, right? Of course, I'm talking about, the different wickedness that's being spoken of, in and amongst this thing of ours, right? So-called leaders, right? Having, you know, grave accusations pushed against them, right? One with straight up, receipts. Okay. Um, it says Matthew 10 and 26, right? It says, "Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known." Right? So once again, what we're seeing right now is just the spirit of, things that are done in secret, things that are done in the darkness being brought to the light, right? Which, gives us to Second Ezra 6:28, which ultimately, that's why we look forward to the kingdom. That's why, we get those precepts in Second Peter's 3, right? Hebrews 13:14, right? Speaking about our desire for the kingdom, because, righteousness and truth are gonna dwell in the kingdom, right? Everyone's gonna know, what nationality they are. Everyone's gonna, well, let's start off with this. Everyone's gonna know the name of the Lord, right? And reverence it, right? Everyone's gonna, know the true hierarchy, the true people of the Lord, right? The fact that the children of Israel at the bottom right now, right, is an error in the earth, right? And that's going to be corrected, right? This is Second Ezra 6:28. It says, "As for faith, it shall flourish, corruption shall be overcome, and the truth which hath been so long without fruit shall be declared." Okay, and we can't wait for that, right? The season of truth is upon us. Okay. So yeah, as always, Lord's will, that was edifying. Till next time we say Shalom.